Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to the Fanzone podcast. It is a pleasure to have you all with us for what is the first post-pod of the 2025-26 season. For those of you lucky enough to tune into the preview show, you managed to catch the first glimpse of the Fanzone live in action for the new season, and we were all feeling slightly optimistic. And what better way to celebrate that optimism with a very early humbling away at Stockport County at Isley Park. Positive signs to be taken from the game, who knows? That is what we're here to discuss this evening. But get your comments in the chat as we go through this evening's episode. As always, it is a pleasure to have you all with us. Thank you very much for choosing to spend your Monday evening with us. We don't usually do a podcast on a Monday, unless there's a game on the Tuesday. But here we are. Thank you very much for joining us. Joined by myself, Ange, and Ben McQuaid this evening. How are we both doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Considering an open-air defeat, as good as you can be, really. Yeah, look, I mean, I was a bit frustrated, as you always are after a loss, but I mean, the dust has settled now, and I'm kind of okay with it. I mean, not okay with it, but yeah, there's a lot more positives if you try and look for them, than just looking at the score and being disappointed. But yeah, it is what it is.
Indeed. Some of the comments in the chat already saying there are some positives to take from that. But Ange, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. Like Ben said, it's not something you can't look at the result and then you definitely don't paint a true picture of what happened. Really, really quite positive first half till the last bloody kick of it. So there's definitely stuff, and Chewy said after that, there's stuff that they need to work on. We absolutely are missing that striker. Just that final third again. It's like Groundhog Day, innit? But yeah, there was lots of positives other than Stockport being tin pot, having no roof and everyone getting pissed wet through. Yeah, there was definitely positives to take.
Yeah, definitely one of the strangest weathers I've experienced at a football match. We walked from Stockport Town Centre to the ground at about 11 o'clock and got absolutely drenched. And then by about the 30th minute, I had my coat off and I needed my sunglasses, and I was gutted I didn't bring them. So yeah, worked that one out.
Yeah, I went from hoods to sunglasses. Yeah.
Indeed. But yeah, I think the overall theme is that a lot of fans feel like there were plenty of positives to take from the game. Disappointing that it did feel like there were patterns and trends emerging that looked a little scarily similar to those of last season. But that being said, I think the nature of how pre-season has gone, the nature of the signings that we've made, all points in a good direction. And although this might not have been the result that we all wanted or hoped for, trust the process. It feels daft saying that this early on after one game. It feels like that should just be everyone's natural just reaction. You know, you get a new manager in and you trust what's going to happen. But it feels like, not sure whether this is all football fans, but it feels like some of us are a little bit quick to jump the gun. But no, that's not us on here on the Fanzone podcast. Right, this evening's episode, most of you will be expecting flashing screens and music to be playing with one of our lovely faces on. But as it is the start of the new season, we thought what better way to decide how the episodes should look than to ask our lovely viewers. So there are no mid-rolls, there will be no random bursts of music unless one of us decides to start singing. So the question that we've got for you is, how would you like your post-match shows to look? The floor is yours, so to speak, in the chat. We usually have a series of mid-rolls, so post-match reactions, Fanzone Man of the Match, Fanzone Fan Focus. Last season, we experimented with Cole's Catch of the Week. So whatever you would like to see this season, either send us a DM on Twitter, put it in the chat, send us an email, however you want to get in touch. Just let us know what you would like to see from your post-match shows, because we have our own ideas, but you're the ones that tune in every week, so it makes sense to hand over to you. But we will start with post-match reactions. I can imagine that one will carry through. Brandon just wants an hour of Colin arguing with everyone, and whilst I'm sure Colin would love that, there's a lot of podcasts to go through, and I think he'd quickly get bored.
He could probably do an hour on his own arguing with himself, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe we should start the Cole zone and just sit him in the corner and let him have a rant after every match. But yeah, let us know what you would like to see. But post-match reactions then. Ben, we'll hand over to you. Just run us through the events of the day, how you thought things shaped. Obviously, the first half was a disappointing end after what had been a pretty steady and good performance. And the second half was a little bit of a lower bar, shall we say. But what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it was a really bright start. And where I was stood, I was on the second row. Obviously, all our action was down the other end. So it was kind of a bit of a guessing game to work out how good our chances were. And then I watched the game back today, and as I tweeted before, I God knows how we weren't ahead after 30, 35 minutes. I mean, I was really impressed by Burstow first start. It was very easy for a young loanee to kind of come in and get lost a bit. He didn't have loads of service, but did well with the scraps. Really held up the ball well, brought McAtee and Mendes Gomez and Cozy Dubia into the attack well. I mean, I do hate moaning about refereeing decisions, but I mean, after 6 minutes, Burstow steals the ball off Norwood. Norwood basically does not touch him at all, and is played in Mendes Gomez one-on-one, and the rest give a foul. I don't know how. I don't know what he's seen there. I get it if it's like a bit of a tussle and he thinks he's put too much on him, but he pretty much doesn't touch him. I don't understand what he's seen there. Anyway, stuff happens and you got to move on. And then 25 minutes comes by. Cozy Dubry was brilliant on the right-hand side, flashes the ball across the box, and about 4 yards out, Burstow's there for a tap-in. But no, he's on the floor because their centre-half has pulled him down. Whether he was offside or not, I'm not too sure, to be honest. But, yeah, look, I mean, if they were our only two chances, you can blame the referee, but they weren't. We had more chances. Dacus Colgate had a good chance from a corner. It was about 12 yards out. Kind of, he could watch the ball straight from the corner flag, no excuses there, and kind of just fluffed his lines. McAtee had one where he was marginally offside, wasn't he? But it looked pretty close on the replay where he put wide. But yeah, I mean, from the first half, quite happy. I mean, I remember my dad turning to me when I think Corey had the ball in his hands a minute into added time in the first half, thinking, and he said to me, he said, look, pretty good first half, but we should be annoyed we're not ahead here. I think the only chance they had before their goal was that Kyle Wotton header that he put over the bar. And then, yeah, just a scruffy, annoying goal to concede just before our time. It was good defending initially, but didn't get it clear well enough. And then it's a ball that's flashed in, was going wide, and their striker puts a toe out and puts it in the back of the net. And that's the difference. They take one of their two chances they had, and we didn't take any of our 4 or 5. And then second half, they come out, they just got a 1-0 lead to defend. They managed it pretty well. We still looked pretty bright. Burstow kind of faded a bit. That's why he came off. I've seen a lot of things about why did he take him off. I get it. I was frustrated at the time, thinking he was our outlet up front, but you could see he was getting a bit knackered. And look, you could leave him on and be knackered and he's injured, and then we're down to 0 senior strikers for next week. Or you take him off and keep him fresh for the week after. It kind of highlights the need for another striker, really, which I'm sure we're going to say a few more times before the end of the window. But yeah, after that, we're kind of a bit...
I hope not, Ben.
Well, I hope not, yeah. But I can see... I don't want to say his name because I've seen his name about 50 million times over the past few weeks, but you can see the Johnny Kenny thing is going to drag on for a while because he was the only striker on their bench on Sunday when their game was, I think it was, and he came on, so I can't see them letting go of him easily. But yeah, it became a bit too one-dimensional. It was just give it the wingers and see what they can do. But they doubled up on him and didn't have anyone to aim in for in the box. And yeah, look, McAtee has a big chance. Conway hits the bar, and if one of them goes in, it's a different game. But it feels same old story. But I hope it's not. I hope it's not, because there were a lot of positives there.
Yeah, that air of frustration that comes from those missed chances is one thing, but you mentioned there the refereeing decisions, and I think we've said 1,000,001 times on this podcast that you can't blame a referee for losing the game. If you don't take your chances, then that's the cause of your downfall. But I think there is something to be said when game-changing decisions are sort of going by the wayside. You had the penalty call, you have the foul allegedly from Burstow. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we'd score from either of those chances, but they're game changers. That's
the biggest chances of the game, weren't they? Mendes Gomez's one-on-one with the keeper, and then either a 4-yard tap-in or a penalty. So
yeah. Something has to be said about the nature of the decisions. If you're arguing the toss over losing a game over a yellow card or a foul in the first half that led to nothing, then fair enough. You could probably write that one off as being a little bit, clutching at straws. But these are game-changing scenarios. And what did you make of the missed chances? Was it nice to reminisce over seasons gone?
I mean, yeah, I agree with what Jimmy said in the chat. It's not the same old story because it's practically a new squad. We did look much sharper and fitter, but I think a week now with some of those that have just come through the door will be invaluable. Just a little bit of time with each other on the training pitch. Absolutely, that miss from McAtee killed me. Literally felt like I've been shot. He missed that. We like we always say, if you don't score, you can't win. But I was still I kind of enjoyed watching us.
Yeah,
I did. I enjoyed watching us. The atmosphere was awful. It was literally the worst away end I've ever been in. I think it was
open ends, aren't they? They're the worst.
Yeah, no, the lack of a roof doesn't help. But anyone who tried to get anything going, it just wasn't. Nothing was taking off. So yeah, it was a bit of a damp squib start to the season, but in all respects, really. Other than I actually did enjoy seeing them in the flesh because I did manage to get to many pre-season matches, so it was nice to see them doing their thing in the flesh.
Yeah, just on the same old story comment. That was a same old story as in when we were good and we struggled to win matches last season. It is a massive step forward from last season where, I mean, we went to Edgley Park last season and we lost 5-0. We were 4-0 down after like 60 minutes or whatever. We didn't lay a glove on them. So it's a massive improvement from that, definitely. It's sort
they
of
didn't
like...
have their first attack till 25 minutes. I think I looked at the clock and was like, this is literally their first 25 minutes of their first attack.
Yeah. And as Lord of the Darts has just put on, we made a title contender, a very strong home side, look really average. Yeah, I mean, I've listened to a lot of 1 to 24s over the past couple of weeks, and a lot of people are quite fancy Stockport for top 6, definitely top 2 as well. But and if that's going to be one of if they finish in the top 2 at coming end of the season, if that's hardest or second hardest game of the season, we've done all right.
Yeah, I mean, the Statman is with us this evening, so I won't bore you too much with the ins and outs. But if you look at the stats, it's very, very, very difficult to say that Stockport deserved a 2-0 win. I don't think many people would look at the stats and say, now what matters really is taking your chances. And yes, we didn't do that, but that same old story thing, I struggle with a little bit. Because like we've all said, last season we struggled to win games, but we didn't even look like we could. There was no like outcome where I came away from a match towards the end of Evert's tenure thinking, yeah, we didn't lose but we didn't win. But you know what? I think we played all right. There was none of that. So just bear with, and I'm sure we'll come good. Because we've seen during preseason what the players are capable of.
Yeah, you refer to the stats as well. I think we had 15 shots. They had 5, I think, and
both 2 on target.
The 2 on target this goal.
Yeah, exactly. Big save from Corey Adai as well, which I obviously forgot to mention. I mean, where I was stood, it was pretty much on line with Gale's shot into the bottom corner. It looked like it had gone past him. So, I mean, it was a great save, that. And I spoke to a few Stockport fans as I was walking back to the car, and they were in the same boat, saying we didn't deserve to lose. And it's not often you walk away from a match, 10 minutes after the game's finished, where they're obviously buzzing with a win, that fans of the opposition team would admit that they maybe didn't deserve to win. And Dave Challoner said as well in his post-match interview that they didn't necessarily deserve to win the game. So I think that says it all.
Indeed, it does. And speaking of Statman, like I said, he's pulled together a masterpiece for us this evening. The Statman segment, that was a mix between section and segment, will look slightly different this season. So his more statistical preview stuff will be done in the preview show, but he's been rustling up a little video for us, which is just filled with the Statman's just aura that you just cannot escape. So we'll roll the VT.
Hello everybody, welcome back to, we'll just call it my segment of the Fanzone podcast, because this isn't going to be the Get Stats On you're used to, because the mini preview that you have been getting from me in the post-match pod will now be moved to the Fanzone preview. And if you didn't watch the Stockport preview, firstly, what are you doing? But it was in there, don't you worry. But I am still in both podcasts, don't you worry. So here, we're going to review the Stockport game. Bit of stats, bit of tactics, and I'm here to give you a bit of hope, because while you didn't win, there were some good, very good signs. Especially in the first half, you had a lot of chances. So many good chances, didn't score. Had to score. Stockport are a good side. They came third last year, just 5 points off. And getting those type of chances against that good of a team, you've got to take them, quite frankly. And I could end it there. Could end my section there, but I won't. But, that is the main thing. Had to take your chances. And, you've not got Dolby. Burstow's only just come in. It's the first game of the season. It don't matter. No excuse. Simply has to be better in front of goal. Anyway, we'll move on a little bit more. Just on that note, though, there was way too much wasteful shooting, especially from 30 yards out when there was no point. I remember, I'm not calling him out because a few people did it, but Mendes Gomez, he had a shot from about 30 yards out and he cut in from the wing. Absolutely no need. They literally just won the ball back. It's like a 5-on-4 and he just cuts in as a dig. And you did nearly score from it because Conway got the rebound, put the ball in. But when you're playing this type of football, that can't happen. You had 8 shots from outside the box out of a 15 in total. So you did have 7 inside, to be fair. But 8 shots from outside the box is simply too much when you're not absolutely battering a team. And you didn't absolutely batter Stockport. You played better, but you didn't hammer him. The main issue for me was for why you didn't score was that you needed one more body in the attack, basically. And that doesn't have to be another striker or another attacking midfielder. It can be a full-back or a midfielder just coming up to overload the opposition, because simply they had more defenders in almost every scenario than you had attackers. So we'll go to the tactics board. It's making its return. Hopefully with the power of editing, it will be on your screen now. And what we've got here is, I've just realised I forgot to do the numbers for Stockport County. But you get the point. These are the average positions from the game. Your numbers are right, Stockport's are not. But still, you get the point. First thing to notice... Oh, why is that happening? Here we are. The notice is this right here. Mason Burstow is deeper than John McAtee. And yes, I know McAtee played up front for about half an hour when you were going hell for leather, but that is unacceptable. That can't happen. and that is one reason why you've lost the game. And I don't know why the circle isn't moving away, but it's there now, and I quite like it. So, but the next point I'm going to talk about is Burstow anyway, because what he did quite a lot was drop off the last line, and to be honest, it worked quite well because you can see the massive gap in between the two Stockport central defenders there. And this is the average positions from the game. So that was the situation quite a lot. And he dropped off, and it created this area here that McAtee... Oh, what have I done here? It created this area here that McAtee kept running into. And he did nearly score a couple of times from it. One time he was offside, just put it wide. But it worked quite well. The only thing is, when you're doing this, and McAtee's average position is also there. And yes, average position taking account the whole 90 minutes. Not just the bit of play I'm talking about. The wingers need to be making the run instead of... McAtee can make the run, but when he makes the run, central defenders just tuck in, number 6 drops off, jobs are good and they've sorted it. But when it comes from out wide, the wingers will usually be in a position where the fullbacks can't see them. So whether that's just behind them or the fullback's tucked in and he's stood over here, winger can make the run inside and go. And the winger is almost always going to be quicker than the centre-back, isn't he? Let's be honest. But I don't mind Burstow dropping off, or Dolby dropping off, or McAtee dropping off, whoever's playing up front, especially in a game like that. However, it needs to be thought about correctly, because it just simply won't work otherwise. There was no outlet for a lot of the game, and that was when Burstow went off. But even when Burstow was on the pitch, he was still lacking a big man up front because he kept dropping off. And anyway, move on to the next thing, which was the defensive 4-4-2 shape. And the lines are going to stay on the screen, don't know why, but this was your block for most of the game when you didn't have the ball. Nice 4-4-2. However, one problem. Let's give one of the Stockport defenders the ball. When that would happen, your midfielders would push on. Your strikers, McAtee and Burstow, they'd push on. And your central midfielders would push on. And then you'd be in a scenario where, because the Stockport fullbacks had pushed up, that your wingers would be deeper than your holding midfielders. And that can never work. Just never. And it got exposed a couple of times when Corey O'Keefe, the Stockport right back, on loan from Barnsley, made the run past Mendes, Gomez and Conway. He was just offside when he did it, but it was almost a guaranteed goal. So, for me, the 4-4-2 out of shape is brilliant. It works. Almost everyone does it, and it's because it works. It's just making sure that you don't overcommit, because that's what happened, and you got overrun. On a more positive note, though, because, I mean, they are positive signs, but that was quite constructive. Conway was bloody brilliant, was he not? He seriously impressed in his first League One appearance. 7 passes into the final third from left back. Blooming call him João Cancelo. Yeah, he was active on the pressing. But I just want to see him join the attack a bit more. I want to see him overlapping, even inverting a little bit. Not into midfield, but into the attack, because he's quality. And it looks like we don't know when Taylor's going to be back fit, but I want to see him playing for the time being, and I want to see him in the attack because he is pretty good. But anyway, that is my part of the Fanzone podcast done. So I'll see you on the preview, and enjoy the rest of the show. Goodbye.
A wonderful Statman, as ever. Irreplaceable. Just there are no words. Can brush up on his editing skills and his line work a little bit. A few hiccups there, but we'll let him off. But I think a lot of what he said was fair. I did notice myself when we were in our defensive shape, the wingers being forced so far back, and that was sometimes because the wing backs got caught too high up. The midfield too got caught a little bit too central, and the ball very quickly made its way out to the wings, and their fullbacks or wing backs, absolutely ran us ragged. And when you're having to double up with wing backs and wingers, it leaves you very short up front, which is why we saw, Burstow picking up the ball a lot, which is okay. But when Burstow goes off, where does the ball go? What do you want to see differently, Ben?
I think something that Statman just said before about getting more bodies in the box. That's one thing when you play with the 4-2-3-1 with the 2 holding midfielders with Simons and Morley. yes, it's good to have them drop off and spray the ball about, but you lose that from mid. So when we played a midfield three a couple of seasons ago, we'd be when it was Thomas and Sheen and Magoma. Pretty much every attack, it was Thomas and Magoma in the box, joining the two strikers or joining the striker and the two number 10s or whatever. Whereas the few times that, especially in the second half, and when Burso went off, we seemed to get the ball out wide. They were doubling up on our wingers, and it would get to the point where we would cut it back to Morley or Simons to put a ball in, and we'd put a ball in. It'd be McAtee and maybe Randall, maybe the opposite winger, and against two centre halves, two full-backs, and probably one of their midfielders, and numerically, it's just a big disadvantage, and physically as well, because it was, three or four smallish attackers versus, big defenders and defensive midfielders. So you do kind of lose that, but that doesn't mean you do kind of lose that as a shape. That doesn't mean they can't bomb on and help in the attack. I'd like to see that more from Simons and Morley. I mean, Simons hasn't scored that many goals throughout his career. Morley scored a few more. Maybe he's the one that can join the attacks and maybe sit on the edge of the box when we're on the attacks. And there was a few in the first half as well. I watched the game back before where, as he was saying, Burso was dropping in, holding the ball up, flicking it to the wingers, and it'd be Mendes Gomez or Cozy Dewberry on the attack, and the only other guy up there was McAtee, and then the opposite winger that was a bit behind. So it was just a little bit disjointed sometimes, and yeah, we were just outnumbered. The amount of times we had balls flash across the box in the first half, or wingers up against the fullbacks, beat the man and look to find someone, and there wasn't someone there. It's something that I'm sure you'll be aware of, and yeah, just something to add to our midfield, I reckon. And just as a nod to Conway, as he said at the end, it was a fabulous debut, as good as we could expect, really. I was obviously impressed with him pre-season, scored a couple of goals. Everyone was impressed with his work going forward, but he wasn't really tested defensively. I remember actually in the first half against Preston, got skinned a couple of times in the first half, but then showed up second half. So it was in the back of my mind thinking, if he comes up against a good League One winger, how's he going to do? But especially in the first half against Mothersill, he kept him very quiet, and even took the ball past him a couple of times, and obviously ran forward in the first half about 50, 60 yards, got in the box, got a bit of a penalty shout, and in the second half did the same thing and hit the bar. So I think we can expect to see him contribute to the attack. I think he'll score a few goals this season.
Yeah, I must say I was impressed with Conway, and you mentioned they're disjointed, and I think yes, we've had pre-season, but league fixtures, as we all know, is the important stuff and are a completely different ball game. And I think that disjointedness is probably a symptom of new signings, new faces through the doors, injuries that have hampered the rhythm of pre-season a little bit. And although it might not have affected results in pre-season, when you've not got that consistent 11 heading straight into the start of the season, you're going to get an air of disjointedness about your performance, which will come and will regain that in time. And what did you think about that rhythm and that sort of those patterns of play?
I think it'll come. You can see it's there. Oh, have I just got feedback? I don't know. You can see it's there. It's just a bit, like Ben said, a bit disjointed. And I think that'll come with time. I think we made some really nice signings. I'm excited for the season. Like loads of people said in the chat. And it's a shame we don't have a man of the match this week, because I think young Max would have probably edged it for this one. It was a brilliant first team debut. He looked really, really assured. He put a really good challenge in early on, didn't he? And I think that kind of got him going. It was right down in front of me, that, and he wasn't out of place whatsoever. I forgot the question, Ben. What did you ask me?
Those patterns of play, that disjointedness.
Yeah, but it'll come. I have every faith it'll come. We had two walk through the door like literally days before that match, so just give me a little bit of time on the training pitch, and I'm not worried. I'm I'm gutted for them really that they lost that because they didn't deserve to lose it. But I'm not worried. I think it'll come. I think it'll come good. I'm positive.
Yeah, and it does feel like it's been a little while since we've said that fan base.
Yeah.
And especially on this podcast. But yeah, it is a shame to not have a man of the match. I think you're right in that Conway would have probably edged it for most people. So if you would like Fanzone man of the match to return for this season, then please do let us know. I saw a comment before saying that, I think it was from Jimmy, that said he'd like it to come through. But please do let us know in the chat what segments you want to see. If you've got any ideas, feel free to tag us in them on Twitter or send us a DM or whatever it might be. And speaking of new segments, we recorded a nice little Patreon special not too long ago. And for those of you that have watched the Fanzone podcast for a while, you will know that there are some episodes of the podcast that tend to go a little bit off-piece, a little bit rogue. The word that we're using, branding our Patreon as, is unhinged. You will know that there are quite a few of those episodes that occur throughout the season, especially when the going gets tough and we're all a bit fed up of saying the same thing. We have to look elsewhere for inspiration, and usually that comes through the form of saying stupid stuff in front of each other. If you would like to see that on a regular basis, then good news for you. We have a Patreon account. There seems to be a couple of you who are questioning what happens with YouTube memberships. So I will explain it now whilst we're all here together. The YouTube memberships will remain. If you wish to continue your subscription, you are more than welcome to. You will get all of your YouTube member benefits, which currently consist of Colin's face as an emoji or any of the other co-host face as an emoji. Your comments are highlighted to us here. You get a little badge next to your name so we can see you all. If you would like to keep those, you are more than welcome to. Thank you, Brandon. But if you would like to convert over to Patreon and get access to those episodes, then you can do that as well, or instead of. There is a list of tiers. You can choose to support us however you wish to. But the first one was a cracking episode. Ben, would you tend to agree?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, as Brandon mentioned before, he wants to see Colin argue with someone for an hour. So that was, I mean, quite a lot of that half an hour was was him getting wound up by something. So yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. Indeed
you would. This latest episode was Hot Takes, which is where we gave you our hot takes from a range of different things, be it football or British culture. And yeah, Colin basically got annoyed for half an hour. We talked about signs at the football, asking for people's shirts. We talked an awful lot about beans on toast, actually. And we even talked about weeing in the grid outside of your house and whether that was acceptable or not. I will leave that to your imaginations as to who did it. If you want to find out for certain, then go and sign up to the Patreon. The first episode is out now. But yes, Jimmy, it was you that said the man of the match. He said freshen up the segments. Man of the match, fan or Dan focus to remain the same, and then some new ones. Fan focus is likely to return. That was a very, very, very popular one. And man of the match, thankfully this season, the only contractual obligation we have is your wonderful headline sponsor of the Fanzone podcast, who sponsor the main show, which is Loving My Socials, and your preview show sponsor is B2B Workwear. So thankfully, we aren't contractually obliged to do Fanzone man of the match, because when we were and we got tonked by Barnsley away, it was really difficult to choose a man of the match every week.
We were like pulling teeth, so episodes were hard work, weren't they, last season?
Yeah, there was only so many times we could say the man of the match is the fans again. They had to sit through that.
Or lofty.
Can I just confirm I was not on the Patreon special, so it definitely was not me peeing in the grid. Thank you, Liam.
Oh, that is a guess. It wasn't Ange. Unfortunately, Ange wasn't on the Patreon special. The rest of us were, so you'll have to find out. Former players, we would like to get some. Leslie said players on as well. We would like to. Just bear with us. Wanderers Way has made that a little bit more difficult. Our friends over at the club now have first dibs on everyone ever, but we'll see what we can do. yeah, this evening's episode is probably going to be a shorter one than usual because of the fact that we haven't got the usual segments. But please do send in your thoughts and your suggestions about how you want this season to look, because your feedback is as important as our ideas. But yeah, the podcast schedule is hotting up. There are plenty of shows coming your way. When we did the rota, I was blown away at just how much we've got coming out. So yeah, the preview show will return ahead of our clash with Plymouth. So join us on Thursday for that. And obviously you'll have your post-match. And another Patreon is due to be recorded very soon. So make sure you are signed up and over there. But there has been, Ben's kindly reminded me, there has been some talk in the chat amongst you all about transfers. And whether or not we should discuss it. I'm going to put a ban on the word Kenny. No one is allowed to say that from this point forward. But yes, transfers. Let's run through it. Who or what should I say would we like to see come through the door? I think the glaringly obvious one is a centre forward. So if anyone's got anything else, I invite you to mention it.
Yeah, I mean, Sunday kind of highlighted a few things that I was, a little bit aware of, but kind of heightened the need for him. And one was another winger, I think. I mean, for one reason or another, sadly, Sean wasn't on the bench. To my knowledge, I don't think we've had that confirmed. Why? I correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, when it got to sort of 60th, 70th minute, obviously Gale came on for Mendes Gomez. Kozidou retired a bit, and I was thinking in my head, if we had another like-for-like replacement, obviously it'd be tough to get someone as good as Kozidou looks so far on the right-hand side, but another replacement out there, some fresh legs. Obviously, we've got Osei Tutu, who came on at right back to give us some attacking thrust from right back, but didn't have the greatest of performances, as Brandon's pointed out. Yeah, I think he is a winger, and again, Max Conway, as good as a game he had, he tired sort of around the 70th minute and came off, didn't he? And we ended up with Dacus Coggy at left back. So obviously Richard Taylor's out at the minute. Don't think he's too far off, but maybe another left back, and Richard Taylor can be one of our centre back depth, as Conway looks like he's going to cement that left back spot. So. Yeah, to me, so far, I would say another winger, obviously another striker, and probably a left back or a right back just to fill in when we do get injuries.
Yes, the inevitable injuries that I'm sure will come at the most delightful of times. And what about you? What's on your shopping list for the summer?
Pretty much what Ben said. I think most people would agree, to be fair. That striker... Sooner rather than later, please. I hate the transfer window. You know how much I hate transfer windows.
Yeah. Whenever we send a transfer rumors in the chat, and just...
I just honestly can't be arsed with the... yeah. I'll be glad to see the... September, hello.
Yeah. I think the issue that we'll have is our star man up front was Sam Dalby. That was the plan. And now that he's in,
what's his time frame?
From what I understand, it's not too long.
It happened just before the Orlando Pirates game, didn't it? I'm pretty sure. And at that point, I think it was a month. But obviously, he's not had any preseason, so I imagine even if he's back in the next couple of weeks, it'll be a good few weeks after that until he's ready to start and play 70, 80 minutes. So. I don't know whether there's been an update again. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll see him back in the squad, but ready to start every week and challenge. Maybe a month or so. I'm not too sure.
I think that is the big challenge we'll have because Dalby isn't out for a very long time. He's going to want. He'll have been promised in his contract that he's going to be playing a lot of games this season. And for the contract that he's probably on, he probably needs to be playing a lot of games to justify his value. So any striker that we bring in, you've got Charlie Warren, who looked like he could perhaps sniff in and around at that, bench spot. I don't think there's any way back for Victor, and Lundalu's certainly been ruled out. And Lolos has since departed. But you've got Warren, who'll probably be that emergency backup. You've got Burstow, who's likely going to be the replacement for Dolby. And then you've got Dolby. So whoever wants to come in, we're not really going to be able to attract anyone that's going to want to start every week because our starters are already nailed on.
It's tough, isn't it? Because obviously healthy competition is good, but when you only have one striker spot, we're desperate for a striker right now, but we could be in a situation where in a month's time, Dolby's fit and he's come back and he looks good. So then we've got Dolby, Burstow, Charlie Warren, and maybe if Abimbola and Lawrence haven't got a loan, one of them's knocking about the first team too, and then another striker that we've signed, and then plus Adebiejo back in January, who looks like he's pretty much done, to be honest. But if he's back, that's another striker on the books that we're paying money for. So it's a tough one. It's one of them. Not that you ever wish injury on a player, but if Dolby was out for longer, it might be easy to attract a striker and guarantee him, say, the next 10 games. But yeah, when he's only out for a small period of time, and we did sign him as our number one on a 4-year contract, it's a bit of a tough sell.
It is, because anyone who comes in is probably going to be under the impression that as soon as Dolby's back, they'll be out the team again, which isn't ideal.
It's a tough one.
But I'm sure there will be some incomings before the window is out. Who remains to be seen. Where they will play remains to be seen. But if one thing that we can count on is that the business will probably be good. I've been more than impressed by everyone that we brought in so far. So all praise to Fergal, Harkin and Schumacher on that front. But, ladies and gents, the first post-match episode of the Fanzone podcast will come to an end at this point. Sponsored, of course, by Loving My Socials. If you want to find out any more about our sponsors, then if you head over to our website, you can do exactly that. Leanne is excellent. The lovely graphics that you see on screen have been done by her. Go and have a look through her website. She does an array of things, and all of which she's very good at. But until the next time, you've been watching the Fanzone podcast. We will see you all very soon. Send in your feedback on how you would like the shows to look throughout the course of the season, and get yourself over to Patreon to hear about who from the Fanzone podcast wheeze in their grid. If that wasn't a good enough sell, then we'll have another episode coming out very soon over on Patreon. So stay tuned. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you for choosing to spend your Monday evening with us. It has been a pleasure. Until the next time, see you later.
Go on, you eyes.